What is the testimony of John the Baptist? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of John on Walking Through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, turn to John chapter 1. We're going to be reading from verses 19 to 28. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So John chapter 1, beginning of verse 19. Now this is the testimony of John. When the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" he confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Christ." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." Then they said to him, "Who are you? That we may give an answer to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord,' as the prophet Isaiah said." Now those who were sent were from the Pharisees. And they asked him, saying, "Why then do you baptize if you are not the Christ, nor Elijah, nor the prophet?" John answered them, saying, "I baptize with water, but there stands one among you whom you do not know. It is he who, coming after me, is preferred before me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to loose." These things were done in Bethabara, beyond the Jordan, where John was baptizing. Up to this point in John, we've been talking about the Word being God himself, who not only spoke the world into existence and provides physical life, but the one who provides spiritual life through his grace. The way that the Word provided spiritual life was through his becoming flesh, dwelling among us, revealing the Father to us, and as we will see later on in this chapter, by becoming the Lamb of God, the one who would remit sins. As of yet, though, we have not met Jesus in this book, and it will be one more lesson until we do so. In today's lesson, we have John the Baptist baptizing in Bethabara. Some translations have Bethany in verse 28 instead of Bethabara, and from the sources that I have consulted, this appears to be the more accurate translation of this word. Now, we have seen a Bethany in the Gospels before, but that Bethany was just outside of Jerusalem, which would not have been beyond the Jordan. This Bethany would have been on the east side of the Jordan River, hence why John gave us a geographical hint that he was not talking about the Bethany near Jerusalem. Scholars believe this place was in the tribe of Reuben, not far from Jericho on the other side of the Jordan. What makes this interesting to regular viewers of this podcast is that if this is correct, then as our map shows, this would be about the location that we left Israel at when we finished our study of the book of Numbers. There is no significance to this fact, but it does help place into our minds where this story takes place. What we have here, though, is John baptizing people and the Jews sending the priests and Levites, who were identified as being from the Pharisees in verse 24. We have met the Pharisees before in our other studies of the Gospels and have noted that on the whole, this was a group of people made up of all sorts of the religious elite, including some of the priests and Levites. From our studies of Numbers, we recall that the priests were Levites from the house of Aaron, while the Levites was a term used to describe the rest of the descendants of Levi who were not priests. These Pharisees came to John with a question: "Who are you?" This does not seem to be an antagonistic question, at least here, because they had heard that there was one who was baptizing beyond the Jordan. You might ask, why did the Pharisees care if one was baptizing? Because baptism was not a ritual prescribed under the law of Moses. And while this is correct in the truest sense, remember, before the priests could offer sacrifices to God, they had to wash their physical uncleanliness off in the laver of the temple. Baptism is seen as symbolic of washing away uncleanness and sin. And the prophets, like Ezekiel in Ezekiel 36, 25 and 26, and Zechariah in Zechariah 13:1, had prophesied that one was coming who would come and take away sin. We would call this one the Messiah. So it is only natural that the Pharisees would want to investigate who this person baptizing beyond the Jordan was. John said that he was not the Christ, meaning the anointed one, the Messiah. The Pharisees then asked if he was Elijah. Elijah was prophesied in Malachi 4 verse 5 as the one who would come before the Messiah. Now the Jews had thought the actual Elijah was going to come, but that is not what Malachi meant. How do we know? Because the angel Gabriel, who appeared to John's father Zacharias, referred to Malachi's prophecy in Luke 1:16 and 17, which says, "And he will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God. He will also go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord." John wouldn't be Elijah, but he would one who'd come in the spirit and power of Elijah, meaning just as Jesus was a prophet like Moses, John would be a mighty prophet like Elijah. The Pharisees then asked John if he was the prophet. This appears to be a reference to Deuteronomy 18:18 and 19, where Moses prophesied of one who would come after him that Israel needed to hear. Even though we know this man to be Jesus, and thus being synonymous with the Messiah, the Jews didn't necessarily believe this. Instead, many believed that God would send multiple people with different purposes, such as reigning as king and prophesying. John again denied being the prophet. Now this confused the Pharisees, who then asked, "If you're not any of these men, then who are you?" For they knew he must be someone if he was baptizing. He said that he was the one who would make straight the ways of the Lord. John is quoting Isaiah 40 verse 3, a passage that the other gospel writers referred to as the forerunner of the Messiah. He goes on to say that he indeed baptized with water, but there was one who stands among them who they did not know, who would come after him, a man preferred before him. This man was the Messiah, and because of this man's rank and sinlessness, John knew that he was unworthy to loose this man's sandal. Who was this man? We'll see him identified, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of John chapter 1, verses 29 to 42, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.